Okay, how about now?
Testing. Let's back it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's because I was trying to get
It's
everything
okay.
figured out.
I appreciate you. Hi. Nothing matters. Nothing I said matters because you didn't hear it. But it was nothing, so it doesn't matter even less. But anyway, thank you so much, Bean by Daylight, for the sub. And thank you, Pidge, for subbing earlier before we went live. I hope y'all can hear me now. So sorry about that. But at any rate, lurkers, listeners, now and later, I hope you're having a beautiful time somewhere without my art. That's about as far as we got. We solved it quick. I appreciate y'all for letting us know super fast so we can get shit like that fixed. Because my ADHD is raging. I brought all 80 of my HDs with me tonight, and it shows. So sometimes I miss things. Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you all so much for being here. By the way, whether you're seeing it live or not, I really do appreciate you. Always. Sincerely and truly. XOXO Gossip Girl. I don't know why I said that. I've never seen an episode of Gossip Girl. Oh. I'm liking this new thing where I'm streaming on Wednesday or Saturday, but like whenever I feel like it. You know, so like whenever I do stream, it'll either be on a Wednesday or a Saturday. Astro Dave, I'm so glad. Thank you for being here and thanks for following. My nose is itching. I'm not picking it. I promise. Oh man. I really do appreciate y'all being here. This is something that I've been meaning to cover on stream forever, but like, I don't know if you're like me, like when someone puts you on the spot and asks you your favorite something, you forget everything you've ever eaten, watched, or done. You know what I mean? So like, whenever I'm kind of running low on ideas and I'm like, well, what can I stream about? I forget every topic that I could ever possibly want to discuss. And this is one that just like kept falling through the cracks, ironically enough, like my autism for 28 years. But not because I don't care about it, but because like for me personally, what we're covering tonight is such like an integral part of my journey, but it was so long ago at this point for me. Not long enough for me to stop caring or not want to cover it, obviously, but like a lot of life has happened between then and now. Holy shit. So much life has happened between then and now. And I want to cover all of this, but obviously not tonight. Holy shit, not tonight. Because y'all know how we derail often by accident, but it is what it is. But what I want to do is go over this with you and then share just like my personal experience with how this manifested in my own life, you know? And this real piece of work, this fucking, I don't know, publication, that's what I want to call it. It's not a book, it's not an article, it's like, it's fucking on the internet, right? It really put a lot of things together for me that I don't see discussed in a lot of literature about autism in adults, autism in girls, autism in anyone who's not a cishet white boy, cishet white man, you know? And I'm just going to be drawing from my experience and just sharing that with y'all. And this has been a long time coming, so this is something I'm excited to cover. And it's like, it's pertinent because more and more things keep happening. And I'm noticing like every couple of weeks on Twitter, autism is trending for some reason. And it's almost never like a great reason. Like I feel like every time I don't click on it every time because Jesus, it's a disheartening spiral to read about what the world at large thinks of disabled people. But like when I have read it, it's just been really shitty takes that are like super ableist and infantilizing and dismissive and inaccurate and wrong and antiquated and just not with the times, bro. Not with the shits. Oh, you're audioless, personally. I apologize. Not because it's my fault. Exactly. Grant me the audacity of a 5'4" white male psychologist named Sage Lockhart, who got his degree in 2002 and hasn't cracked open a book since. Grant me that audacity. Oh my fucking God. So, I'm also excited to read this again for my own personal processing shit because, like, when I tried to take the under my insurance in network available to me route, I followed it. I jumped over every stepping stone all the way down the line until I hit a brick wall. And then I fucking hit a brick wall. And for me personally, it was with my psychiatrist, the recorded appointment that we've talked about and covered. It's on my stream. It lives on YouTube. Go follow me there. Go watch it. It's the one about like medical misogyny and gynecology and gaslighting, and it's all there. But I had been to him previously because in February 2021, I started, like, this information like fell into my lap and wouldn't stop. Like, my brain wouldn't stop thinking about it. Like, you scroll shit, you read something, and 3 days later you're still thinking about it, and then a week later you're still thinking about it. That's why I've started saving shit, because for a long time I didn't. But now I'm to the point where I've saved like fucking 7,000 videos on TikTok and I'll never watch them. But that's a whole other thing, right? But I found out that I had ADHD first. Like, I discovered that for myself, what I thought to be true and what made sense to me and what explained the parts of my life that the normal, being a cis woman growing up in the 90s in the South, the depression, anxiety, BPD route that so many women get misdiagnosed with, right? And I did the stepping stones through my network, through my insurance, what was available to me, because I don't have thousands of dollars to dish out for a fucking assessment. You know what I mean? Like, when organizations like Embrace Autism put the exact assessment in free form online, it's like, this is exactly what we would ask you, but you can't put this on a chart. Like, we have to be the ones, and it's thousands of dollars this way as well to put it on your chart. Like, so many loopholes and so many gates being kept that people who fell through the cracks like me and so many of y'all that I've come to know and love over the past however much we've known each other, year and some change, or almost 2 years now. Jesus Christ, how long have I been fucking doing this? It'd be like 2 years in like May or June that like that Glamour article came out about this appointment and all that bullshit that sort of like thrust me into this sort of position, and y'all know the rest. Some of y'all have been here since that. But it doesn't matter how long you've been here. Like, a lot of you relate to the experience of not being seen, not being believed, not being heard, not being taken seriously, being made to feel like your problems are very much a you problem and you have to solve it like in silence because no one around you wants to help you because no one takes you seriously. Like, it's that cycle for years and years and years and decades. For my case, 2.8 decades. But I found out about my ADHD first, and I went to that psychiatrist and got the diagnosis and started the medication, and it fucking changed just my whole fucking life. I truly think that me being medicated for ADHD for those 2 years, I've recently lost access. That's a whole other story. Go watch other streams for it. I don't think that I would be where I am now without that structure, without the structure of being on that medication, because it helped organize my thoughts. It helped quiet down the fucking instead of 28 songs in my head, it was like 4. You know what I mean? And like I was able to sit down, start something, finish it, and not open 6 tabs and check my phone and play an in-game app and refresh my inbox and go piss and feed the cats and fucking get the mail. Like, and of course that's now what my life is again, right? Being off medication for some months now, the dust is settling and I'm able to like exist online in any capacity that I feel comfortable with. It's hard, but I'm fucking doing it. But after being so grossly dismissed and mistreated by this asshole, like, on top of not magically having thousands of dollars to get assessed, on top of we're now learning over the course of the ongoing pandemic that people with certain disabilities, like Down syndrome and autism, were put on the do not resuscitate list if they were in the hospital. After learning that some countries will not let you move there if you have autism on your chart, no matter what sort of fucking nuance or information or clarification you give them, because they don't give a fuck. After all of that, why the fuck would I put myself through this continued hell of not being believed and hurdles to jump through? Just this one route that was available to me put me through the ringer. Put me through the ringer. So, before we start with this document, I want to make very clear for those who might be new and don't know, for this reason and for fucking so many others, rolls out CVS list of interconnected systemic issues, right? Self-diagnosis in the autistic and ADHD community is largely seen as perfectly valid for these systemic reasons. Autism as a diagnosis is not a club that other autistic people get to determine if you're autistic or not. You know? Autism is a spectrum that exists whether you like it or not. And I'm referring to people who boo-boo on self-diagnosis, people who gatekeep, people who are elitist, and they don't have a fucking leg to stand on because they can't get past the, you have to go through hoops. You have to go through the hoops. If you don't make it through the hoops at the end with a diagnosis, then you're not autistic. It's like going through a fucking American Ninja Warrior course. Give me a fucking break. Right? So, if you are self-discovered or self-diagnosed or late discovered or late diagnosed, no one gets a say in that. No one gets a say in your experience except you, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day. And a lot of people think that self-diagnosis is you watch one TikTok or you take an online fucking BuzzFeed quiz and determine your results and base your entire life on that alone. And anybody who has gone through the self-discovery journey of anything like this knows that that is far from the case. First of all, I have seen and heard a lot of like autistic trans folks talking about, now I'm not saying that they're speaking for every trans person, nor am I attempting to, but I'm just using this, like this is a reference I've heard from several trans people who are autistic talking about the late discovered autistic experience versus their trans experience. And they all said similar things without like, you know, consulting with each other. They've all come to the same conclusion that, like, generally speaking, cis people don't sit around wondering if they're trans and wondering if they could possibly be trans or thinking about it a lot or exploring that side of things or reading testimonials from trans people. Like, cis people don't usually do that. You know, that's what they said. Again, those are not my words. I'm not speaking for anybody, just to be clear. But like, They said that the same is true for autistic people. Of course, there are outliers. Of course, there are people who act in bad faith. But like I've said in previous content, those people are far fewer in number than these gatekeepers are being made to believe. The obstacle course that we have to go through to determine whether we're autistic or not, whether or not we actually are autistic, is put there on purpose. Because if you don't fit into the box, if you don't check all the boxes, if you're an outlier in any way, then that's a flag. Then you can't be autistic because of that. And they gatekeep on such a molecular level with such rigid guidelines that are written in a book by and for white people. You know what I mean? Like, and I want to move past this, I promise. But I'm just letting you know that this channel and myself and I and my community, we support self-diagnosis in the ADHD and autistic community because of the inaccessibility, because of the socioeconomic barriers in place, because of the endless social stigmas and hurdles and obstacle courses, right? So, that being said, now that my cheeks are hot because gatekeeping motherfuckers make me fucking mad, let's get into it. I have it zoomed way the fuck in, but I'll fix it. And I need to fix me too. That's fine. Right? That's good. Okay. Now, you can find this. This is from the Autistic Girls Network. This publication is from, I believe, I don't know what month. I know for sure it's 2022. I can't remember if it's early or late 2022, but look it up. You can Google Autistic Girls Network and their website will come up and the link Keeping It All Inside will be right there. And that's this publication. I love what y'all chat about, and I always catch up after, like when I watch the playback to like edit it and stuff. So don't stop chatting on my account. I love reading this shit. Hey, Guitar Guy, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. If I missed you, hello. I love you and I appreciate you. And those in the haters booth, I hope your seats are super uncomfortable and your hands are sticky and no amount of hand washing can get that off your fingers. All right. Autism girls and keeping it all inside. Don't know how much I'll cover tonight. It depends on how much my asthma wants to do. Plus, my brain is elsewhere in a video game that I'm like immersed in right now. So, I'm playing Tug of War and it's on easy mode right now. But as the night goes on, it'll get harder and harder. And it's not because I don't love y'all. And it's not because I'm not having fun. And it's not because this isn't important. It's because I brought all 80 of my HDs to the function this evening, and I apologize. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for having ADHD. And neither should you be if you have ADHD. Nothing to be sorry for. All right. I got a cough. Hold on. Did the mic just cut out again? I hope not. The levels look good on my end. Can y'all hear me? A quick Y or N in the chat if you're really good at reading lips. Okay. Thank you for the feedback. Now this is about as zoomed in as I can get it while fitting it on the screen, you know, for y'all. So y'all can pull it up and... Ooh, thank you so much for subscribing with Prime, Wheezy Walrus. I appreciate you. Yeah, try refreshing. I'm sorry about that. This is as zoomed in as I can get it to fit in the screen. So if you want to follow along, just Google Autistic Girls Network. It's also in my bio, in my hub. If you go to resources for autistic adults in the hub, it's like halfway down the page. Near like the COVID resources and interviews and things like that. All of it's in there. I also have some links from Embrace Autism in there as well. All right. Autism girls and keeping it all inside. The topic of autism in girls has been much discussed in recent years, but while many are aware that girls may present differently, there is widespread misunderstanding about exactly how. This is a huge issue because autistic girls and those who present in the same way are being missed, and outcomes for autistic females are particularly poor. Official statistics still say that one. Ooh! Bean, thank you so much. 13 months! That's over a year, Beanman. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Bean. I love you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, it's from my singing monsters. PJ knows. He used to play. Uh-oh, I just wiped my lipstick all over my face. Well, life goes on. All right. I love you, Bean. Thank you for being here, my lovely, lovely Beanman. Official stats still say that 1 in 100 people in the UK are autistic, but these figures are out of date. Official US figures from the Centers of Disease Control, CDC, the autism is neither a disease nor should it be prevented, exactly, now say that 1 in 44 people are autistic. But this is based on 8-year-olds. And as we know all too well at Autistic Girls Network, many people are diagnosed as autistic after the age of 8. Official figures in Northern Ireland are 1 in 22. So that's way fucking more common than 1 in 100. By a lot. Get into it. So all we could really say with certainty is that there are more than you think. And whether or not those people are recognized as autistic does not change the fact that they're autistic. Right? It's very much if a tree falls in the forest, you know what I mean? Like, of course. Trees make sounds when they hit things. Whether you're there to experience it or not. You know, that particular, this is a tangent, one of many. That particular saying always rubbed me the wrong way, and I want to break it down right now. If a tree falls in the middle of a forest and there's no one here to hear it, does it make a sound? I'm going to point the finger at myself because I hate when people use that saying to make a point, and I literally just did that. So, I don't know. Is there some big moral attachment to this saying? People say it like Matthew McConaughey, all fucking insightful, like, does it make a sound? To skirt accountability? That they could be used to skirt accountability. I also think, like, I'm seeing it translate to, like, just, I'm seeing it translate to perspective, and I know it's probably not what it originally meant, but, like, just because you didn't experience it with your own eyes or ears doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Like, but I know that's not the fucking point. Okay, tangent over. This is not, okay, there's more than you think. And this is, no, please. This is not because autism has become more prevalent, but because it has become better recognized. Yes, an increase in, I'm trying to pull words out of thin air. Give me just a second. An increase in prevalence doesn't always mean an increase in existence. Right? It's like this is not like being autistic, but this is just another comparison. It's like discovering a species that we've never discovered before. It wasn't born on that day. We just hadn't discovered it yet. Things exist whether you know about them or not, including in yourself. Girls in the UK are still being diagnosed autistic on average 2 to 3 years later than boys, though, according to this study in 2021. Given what we are coming to understand about the damage a late diagnosis and subsequent camouflaging of autistic traits can do to an autistic person's mental health, let me zoom in a little more, confidence and self-esteem, this is a statistic which needs to change fast. But girls aren't diagnosed later because there is a female phenotype of autism, because there isn't. They are missed for complex reasons, the largest of which are masking and presenting internally. What do we mean by that? I can zoom in on this page. I really want you all to be able to see it, even though it is a wall of text. I'll try to follow along with my mouse. When we talk about an external presentation of autism, we mean one that is probably more recognizable to the majority of people, where the person behaves in a way which is visibly different to their non-autistic peers. They might stim, move, perform an action, or make a noise in a repetitive way by rocking or flapping their hands. They might be non or minimally speaking. They might exhibit distressed behavior. As a generalization, children brought up as girls don't tend to present that way as much, but some do, and if they do, they're probably diagnosed earlier. Their autistic traits, and those of some boys and non-binary young people, are camouflaged and internalized to help them fit in with their peers, which can be a conscious or unconscious decision to avoid the stigma of being autistic. However, masking comes with a high cost in terms of mental health and keeping a strong sense of identity, and it's no coincidence that children and young people who present in an internal way are being diagnosed autistic at the time and because they have reached breaking point. I really wish this wouldn't pop up because I'm trying to make a point here. You know what I mean? Breaking point. I wish that I could turn this into a laser to point it. I like pointing at things. Masking comes at a cost. Let's putting it lightly. That's a lifetime of not knowing who I am. A lifetime of being a literal chameleon to blend in with my environment to create the least amount of conflict or turmoil. A lifetime of living in continued survival mode and not being able and not being safe to be myself. Being sniffed out by my peers as being different, even though I tried my damnedest to blend in, including like begging to have that particular shirt or this particular cup, like, you know, like in an attempt to fit in. And then I would get the off-brand thing and get fucking laughed at for it because kids are awful and can't let other kids have things. Plus, growing up in the 90s and aughts, of course, it's different now and worse in much ways, but like it was its own special, specific flavor of hell. In the 90s and aughts on TV, it was like humiliation culture was like the big thing. And like, you know, they would put people on American Idol to laugh at and ridicule. And, you know, that was very much like tabloid culture, and MTV, like that had such a chokehold on the young people of that time, and like wanting to fit in with that because it was everywhere. It was in everything. It was in music videos. It was in movies, TV shows. It was in commercials at stores, at the mall, like at school. Like you couldn't get away from it. And now with, god damn, I could not imagine being an unknown autistic kid growing up in 2024. Well, a lot of my brain itches would have been scratched because I did get an encyclopedia for Christmas when I was like 8, like a kid's encyclopedia, like with big text and cool pictures. It was still like a whole set. But I had a lot of questions that were not in those books. And if I had access to the internet, like when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, bitch, I would have been dangerous. I would have known too much. I would have known entirely too much. I would have stayed up and gone on every website there was. My brain was like insatiable. Like my head was always in a book. Cause like the shit we were doing in class, like I get it. You know, like, and I'm not trying to sound braggadocious or anything. I'm also like talking like with like being transported back to that time and like talking through those emotions. And I just remember being so bored with school. Bored because I got it already, or bored because I didn't get it at all and my brain would not process the information. And it's not a matter of just sit down and focus, Tatum. Bitch, I wish. I really do. I wish it were that simple. You can't just sit down and focus, just get a planner, just get some sleep, just drink some water your way out of ADHD. Rhonda. Okay. But anyway, kids can sniff you out when you're different. regardless of what you do to try to fit in, at least that was the way for me. I should speak from my experience. I shouldn't say you, because y'all had different experiences than me. They sniffed me out because I was different, but they didn't know that it was because I was autistic. They just knew that it was because I was, I don't know, they called me a nerd, a geek, a loser, like words that were very like dated for that time that really just meant autistic. Teacher's pet, know-it-all, like anything like that whatsoever. Anything. Being punished for being inquisitive and being whittled at for decades until I took pride in not giving a fuck. Like, I took pride in like being mentally checked out of school. Like, when I was a senior, I would joke that I had senioritis since I was a sophomore. Like, I was just over it, you know? But I didn't know why I was over it. But I spent too many years in that mentality of my life where I didn't care about anything. And now my brain is making up for lost time by caring about fucking everything. And it won't shut up. And it's the worst. Let me zoom out a little. I don't like doing this back and forth shit, so. Okay. Sorry, guys. I know it's small, but I'm trying to really pronunciate my words. You did have that access, and now you know too much. Felt. My brain already feels like it's overheating and needs to be Control-Alt-Delete task managed every day. I can't imagine having access to this much information at that young of an age. We got internet in my house in 2003. I was in like 5th grade or something like that. And that was early enough. Spent a lot of time in like chat rooms and stuff and blogs and whatnot. Because anti-intellectualism, and it's making a comeback, was like big. Like, it used to be not cool to know things. I used to get char grilled for loving Shark Week growing up. And now look. It's like a family fucking pastime. Everybody talks about it. Shark Week, for those of you who don't know, once a year on the Discovery Channel, they do, like in the summer, it's Shark Week, and they do a bunch of shark documentaries and specials, and Sharknado as well, probably. I don't know. I don't know what the Discovery Channel is now, but that's how it was growing up. But it used to be, ew, okay, know-it-all, okay, nerd, twirls gum with finger. No one likes a know-it-all, Becky. You know, very like humiliation station if you don't, if you know the answer to something. So, like, I internalized that heavily, and I really suppressed my need to know answers. And I instead sort of transmuted that into observing people and becoming like interested and invested in learning about people, learning about their habits, learning about like their interpersonal like relationships and things, and like the inner workings of the minds of like killers, like why people do things, like. And that was my shit for years. And now 20 times a day, I pause what I'm watching and Google something. Like, I can scratch that itch at any time, and I take advantage of it when I have the spoons. Sometimes I don't have the spoons. Sometimes I don't care. I don't care what year Pierce Brosnan was born, right? But sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. All right. Autism. Autism has to be diagnosed by behaviors, but unfortunately, these behaviors often end up being those of traumatized and distressed autistic people who only stop internalizing them when they are at breaking point. Autistic children who present it in an external way will be noticed and referred early, partially because they are causing disruption in school, and the school is invested in helping that disruption to stop or be more controlled. Enter ABA therapy. Autism Speaks is like, we'll take it from here. Bring me a little Tommy. Bring me a little Susie. We'll beat that autism right out of them. We'll use negative reinforcement and punish them. And use exposure therapy to try to desensitize them to loud noises. Because we don't understand how sensory processing disorders work. We don't understand or care because this is a money racket that we are traumatizing the fuck out of these kids. And they're going to grow up to hate themselves. And have to spend years of their lives unlearning this shit. But their mom shoved them in this program because they thought it was the right thing to do, and he's a handful at home. And today, these same moms film their child's meltdowns and post them on TikTok, but that's another conversation. You know, autism until fucking, I'm going to say the last 10 to 15 years, maybe even more recently than that, and it still is, like this says, diagnosed based on how you externally impact those around you even. Like, oh, well, he's disruptive in class. He asks too many questions, or he, you know, does this physical repetitive movement, or is disruptive in other ways, and instead of talking to him like a person or accommodating his needs that he clearly has, we're going to go this route instead. No, the neurotypicals have not been and will never be okay. And to be fair, neither are the autistic people that are subjected to this kind of treatment. Autistic children who present in an internal way tend to behave much more passively and tend to be ignored. They're not causing a disruption, so the added incentive is not there for them to be referred, and frequently the signs are not spotted until mental health has deteriorated to such a point that behavior becomes more externalized and disruptive, albeit disruptive in a different way. For me, I figured out my ADHD first, and by figured out, I mean learned about ADHD for 5 months, learn how it presents in women, learn why women go missed and undiagnosed and misdiagnosed, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And then taking it to an actual healthcare professional and getting it professionally assessed and diagnosed. Like, once that happened and I was on my meds, my ADHD meds for like a few months, 4 or 5 months settling into it, the same process started again because traits of mine that I have suppressed my whole life were starting to come out, and traits were like left over. Not saying that like medicine eradicates ADHD. I'm just saying that like this is how it manifested for me. Like traits that ADHD didn't explain, and neither did the cookie cutter depression, anxiety, BPD misdiagnosis route of my previous 27 years, right? So, and I also need to say an integral part of this. Now, this is where the gatekeepers and the elitists, steam's going to start coming out of their ears. And I can smell it now. Very waxy. But do not underestimate the frightening accuracy of an algorithm. And not so much 2024, but 2021, 2022, TikTok. That shit, that algorithm, that was like the golden era of the algorithm, because now it's like Facebook Marketplace 2.0. Every third TikTok is a sponsored ad for something. By the way, I fucking just got a free cat toy in the mail that I'm going to also do a sponsored video on TikTok. So I'm very much part of the problem, but I'm also a bitch just trying to make it. So get off my dick. We're all being exploited. You could be anti-capitalist and also be forced to participate in said exploitative system and want to dismantle it and critique it even. Thank you. I forgot. Oh yes. What makes steam come out of these people's ears? TikTok. That's right. So TikTok did play a part in pointing me in the direction of maybe you should do some more research on this with my ADHD. And then I was, chilling for a few months, just interacting on the app as normal, getting a lot of neurodivergent content, feeding it exactly what I want, exactly what I like, exactly what I don't like. I'm just using the app like normal, right? And then a handful of months in, I start getting TikToks about, well, you've solved the mystery, huh? Your whole life. You weren't broken. You just have ADHD. Feels good to solve a mystery, right? Cannonball, pillow comes in, punches the face. Autism. Like, I got a few of those and I'm like, yeah, huh. Swipe. Yeah, okay, swipe. Traits that are ADHD versus traits that are autism and how they coexist and how they interact. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute. That's a trait of something? That's not just a personality flaw? Like, I'm not just a picky bitch, but I have sensory issues that contribute to a lot of like texture problems that I have with like foods and clothes and things that I didn't know how to articulate, but would try to express. And people would be like, there are people that are Kim, there's people that are dying. That's not a problem. That's not an issue. I'm like, yeah, but I can't explain why this wool sweater makes me want to throw up. I don't know how else to put it. I hate wool. It makes me pukey. It makes me hot. It itches. It's like fiberglass. And I used to wear cute little chunky little sweaters. No. Barring the coldest days of the year, I'm in a t-shirt and shorts all year round. Fuck it. I'm existing in my body. I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I also want to talk about how autism manifests in young people who can't control their environment or anything about their life, and adults who find out later and have some semblance of control over their environment or what they wear, or what they can eat or drink. If I had $1 for every time I've been told by an autism mom or a gatekeeper that I can't be autistic because my nephew or my cousin or my little brother or ex-relative here who's 10 years old is autistic and you're nothing like him. First of all, good. Good. I'm a 30-year-old woman. On paper, I do not have anything in common with a 10-year-old boy, except if they're related to me. And my younger brother is grown. He's 3 years younger than me. Second of all, autistic kids are not listened to, not given agency, not given a voice or a choice. And a lot of these parents want to speak for them on their behalf. They think they know what their child needs. They think they know what their child wants. When some of these parents are projecting what they want for their child onto their child. And they don't have control over their environment. I'm speaking from my own experience here. For the first, at least 18, if not 20 years of my life, I thought that I had a raging anger problem. Like, people around me, like, treated me like I was like a bulldog getting ready to bite whenever I would start to feel overwhelmed. I'm using language now that I can use to describe it, but language I didn't have back then. Like if I was overloaded or dysregulated or in burnout and pushing past it until I'm whittled down to a single thread. Like, I'd be snappy and combative and angry, and I'd cry a lot, and just, my body was just, I felt like an out of control, like spinning tornado, Tasmanian devil, raging She-Hulk, you know? And looking back, I did have a lot of moments where I was angry and where I had meltdowns and broke down and yelled and got mad. But I wasn't, like, that wasn't who I was as a person. Like, but those moments in my life would happen often enough because I didn't have control of my environment, and I was made to be in shitty situations and, you know, just not having the agency over my life as I do as an adult. And that's just my experience. I'm thinking about kids younger than me that have it so much worse, who don't have the language, who don't understand why they're experiencing what they're experiencing, and don't have any language. So they cry, they lash out, they throw things, they might rock back and forth, they might hit themselves, you know, like, these kids are treated as problems. They're not the problem. The problem is why they are reacting this way. Their environment, the situation, the overwhelm, the discomfort, the dysregulation, whatever it might be. Hunger, thirst. There's hangry, and then there's me, ravenous. You know, like, my soul exits the chat when I'm 10 out of 10 hungry. And I'm an adult. So as a kid, yeah, I was a cranky little muffin. All right. Until we can start to recognize autistic children who present in an internalized way while they are still at primary school or before, we will not break this cycle of lack of knowledge about internalized presentations, and these people not appearing in research because they're not yet diagnosed. Kind of hard to research what isn't known. Like, isn't diagnosed. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So you can't get feedback from people who are late discovered diagnosed from age 14 when they come at you age 32. Everything has to be retroactive. So until we're able to realize how these internalizations manifest, because on the outside I was a good student, perfect angel, good girl, always did everything, got my good grades, did my chores, played softball, tried to keep everybody happy. On the inside, a category 5 hurricane of needles and knives and chaos. Dysregulation, no structure, pressure, guilt, shame. That's how I operated for 30 years of my life. All of, I won't say all, because that's overgeneralization. 85 to 90% of shit that I used to hate myself for, shit I used to blame myself for, shit I used to make fun of myself for, were my autistic traits. And then I had to have the conversation with myself, bitch, why are you so damn ableist? This journey, the self-discovery journey, is not watching 2 TikToks and a BuzzFeed quiz and fucking calling it a day. It's the single-handedly most difficult, most painful, most gut-wrenching, most mind-blowing, over and over again revelations smacking you in the face. Oh, that's why. Oh my God. So that. Oh, that's like fireworks over and over again in your brain for days, weeks, months, years. I'm still learning shit. Literally yesterday, or maybe the day before, I don't know. My friend Nova, if you see this, I love you. They told me about autistic catatonia because I was describing how hours of my life go by cumulatively a day where I am just woo-hoo, off the clock. I'm checked out, sitting there, not moving. But everything up here is moving. In my brain, it's chaos. Are you kidding me? Nothing short of chaos. But on the outside, in increments. Sometimes it happens in seconds. Sometimes it's minutes. I don't know. I'm also time blind. I don't look at the clock. But I was like talking about that in the chat. And Nova told me, have you ever heard of autistic catatonia? So I saved that. I think it was yesterday because I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. All I'm saying is 2 and some odd years later, I'm still learning shit about myself. Still learning shit. I'm learning the specifics of shit. I'm learning shit now that I wouldn't be able to learn at the entry level of knowing all this stuff. Like, it's very much, there's levels and revelations have to take place in a certain order before you reach number 27. Like, at least that's how it was for me. My butt is numb. It's been an hour. Let's see. Let's read this paragraph and then I'll take a little leg break. I know I haven't covered hardly anything, but that's why we're doing it in segments, y'all. Let's go. Let's fucking crank through this page. The diagnostic process is less likely to favor those brought up as girls, especially when there's no intellectual disability present. The ratio of girls to boys is 1 to 2 for autistic people with an intellectual disability, whereas it's 1 to 3 in those without. The assessment tools used for diagnosis and research in the field of autism have almost always been developed from research using predominantly male samples. Girls and women need to be struggling more than male peers to get a diagnosis, and on average it takes 2 to 3 years longer, or in my case, 20. In the UK, there is a wide geographical difference in how likely girls are to be diagnosed. Some areas have a ratio of 1 girl to 30 boys, while others have a ratio of 1 to 2. This is not just a statistical anomaly, but rather a difference in how diagnostic teams recognize autistic girls. There is research suggesting that more women are referred for diagnosis as adults than men, which implies that more girls are being missed. Exactly. It doesn't mean that they didn't exist before the diagnosis. Why do teenagers and boomers have the same take on so many things? It boggles the mind. How did we get here? Bias. The history of autism diagnosis is also biased toward males. Neither Leo Kanner nor Hans Asperger, who might controversially be considered the founding fathers of autism diagnosis, paid much attention to girls. Neither one of them did. Kanner, or it might be Connor, I don't know. Either way, I hardly know her. Also considered autism a condition of childhood only and dismissed those who did not conform to his rigid criteria, a subset who subsequently came to be diagnosed with Asperger's, now known as just autism. Wind chime sound. Even now in autism research, we are still dealing with some of the leftover unconscious bias from the 1950s. You got it, girl. And when you consider that it generally takes 17 years for research to start changing things in real everyday life, we still have a long way to go. 17 years, huh? So 2037, people are going to finally get their shit together about COVID. When you consider, okay. Sadly, pioneer Lorna Wing identified in 1981 that there was a gap in diagnosis of autistic women, and this has still not been rectified. What's really important in the diagnosis of any autistic person, but especially tweens and teens who have already experienced years of knowing they were different to their peers, is that the diagnosis is presented in a positive way, in contrast to the medical model of deficiency, and is accompanied by experienced autistic voices and the formations of a positive autistic identity. The young people themselves need to be given agency to have some control over this process. Period. We've got to start listening to kids. We've got to start listening to children. listen, I don't have kids. We're child free by choice. / lighthearted. Fuck them kids. You know what I mean? Like, if your kid's bad behaved, I'm not the person to sit them down and be like, so what's been bothering you lately? Like, I'm quite frankly too autistic for the sensory part of that, right? But that doesn't mean that they're not people with rights and autonomy and agency and dreams and a mind and a voice, you know? We've got to start listening to kids. We've got to start taking kids' pain seriously. We've got to start taking kids' struggles seriously. And you don't have to be a parent to talk about this kid, or to talk about kids, because we've all been kids. If we've made it to adulthood. If you've made it to adulthood and you're watching this right now, you can talk about what it's like to be a kid. And whatever that means for you. Thank you for following. I'm speaking from like my 10-year-old self who was struggling so fucking endlessly hard to fit in, to belong, to make people happy, to be liked, to make it, to be successful, whatever, you know, all these adult-sized pressures put on me. So I'm speaking from that perspective when I say that that's what kids need, because that's what I needed as a kid. Kids are smart. Kids might do not smart things, but kids are smarter than we give them credit for. In a lot of ways. And that's all I'm going to say about kids. Okay. Yeah, I want to get through this page and then I'll take a break. I'll try not to stop too much. Processing differences. We couldn't complete this paper without touching on the subject of autistic inertia. Yes. Oh my God. I think about this all the time whenever I like reflect on how hard it is for me to start or stop something. You may already know about executive dysfunction, but we prefer not to use the dis words like disorder, dysfunction, and all the other pathologizing language that surrounds autism. That's fair. I use the words executive dysfunction. I'm not boo-booing any of your language use. Just don't be an asshole, right? If you want to describe yourself as a person with autism, that's your prerogative. Who the fuck am I, right? Just don't be a jerk. To understand autistic children, you really need to understand autistic inertia and monotropism. By monotropism, we mean someone is funneling, probably unconsciously, most of their attention into one thing, which can lead to what you might know as special interests. But we would like to open your mind to the idea that there's nothing weird or out of the ordinary about these interests. They are just strong interests. That's fair. That's fair. And it's no more odd to be interested in, for example, flags of the world or K-pop stars than it is to be interested in a game which involves some players being paid very large sums of money to kick a ball around a field of grass. Some football fans have very strong interests in their favorite teams. We don't call this a special interest. However, for an autistic person, their topic of passionate interest forms what Fergus Murray calls an attention tunnel. The great part of cognitive processing is funneled into barreling your way along that attention tunnel. And this is where the inertia, having difficulty stopping and starting activities, comes in. Because if you're having a lovely time processing stuff about a topic you love, it's not a welcome intrusion to be pulled away from it. So true, bestie. So true. Am I like out of frame for most of this? It doesn't matter. Murray rather beautifully puts it. Thinking in terms of inertia also gives some insight into the discomfort of being interrupted or plans changing. It's as if we've loaded a cart to the brim with thoughts and feelings, and then we suddenly have to steer it around a sharp corner. That's very true. That's very true. It's like hitting a brick wall as well. It can be. If plans change all of a sudden. Not in some like Bridezilla type demonizing way, like, you better not change plans around me or you'll live to regret it. No, like, my brain, it's literally like shoving the car into park when you're doing 70 miles per hour. It's disorienting, and I have to redirect and recalculate and recalibrate, you know? If you know, you know. Other changes like transitions can also be deeply disconcerting for autistic people, and that includes all the ones you don't realize are autistic yet. and cause a feeling of control being lost. Demand avoidance and meltdowns. Demand avoidance, also known as a need for autonomy, a persistent need for autonomy, are a reflection of a truly bewildering lack of control, of frustration at being misunderstood, even at the same time as being accused of misunderstanding others. It's a never-ending cycle. Always misunderstanding other people and always being misunderstood in turn. Tons of swings and misses. And all of these micro interactions through my life. And that shit adds up. Let me tell you. So autistic inertia makes transition difficult and also accounts for a delay in processing. Because when the brain has allocated the bulk of processing load to your interest of choice, there's not much left to deal with interruptions. As Murray points out, a neurotypical, non-autistic in this case, brain is adept at dealing with lots of topics at the same time and filtering out lots of information that comes in and the brain deems useless. An autistic brain hyperfocuses on one topic and doesn't filter in the same way, hence sensory overload. Both methods are useful for different tasks. Neurodiversity is a wonderful thing. It's important for teachers to realize that it's much easier to join a pupil in their attention tunnel than to spend all day trying to drag them out of it. Yeah, because you'll breed resentment too. You'll breed students not giving a shit anymore. I just wish we could all communicate better, please. Woo. But it's important for parents to understand this too. Contrary to popular belief, relationships are very important to autistic children and young people, and joining them genuinely in their passionate interests is a great way to connect. And if you can't join them, do your best to find other young people for them to share these interests with. I'm not yawning because I'm bored. I'm yawning because sometimes when I read out loud for a long time, it activates my soft palate. Okay. That's a good place to take a break because my butt's numb. But holy shit, this is more than just paragraphs. Like, we're going to get into, points, bullet points, and we're going to spread this out through a few streams as well. But this is just, all of this shit's important. All the shit's important. And I'm even thinking differently now about some of the things that are being said here than I did back then, and processing it differently and with new knowledge. All right, but we're going to stop there and take a quick BRB, and then when we get back, we'll read What May Differ for Girls. I do think Autistic Girls Network is a UK organization because they keep talking about the UK, I think. Don't quote me on that because I've been wrong a lot lately, and it happens. That's okay. But anyway, go ahead and stretch your limbs, y'all. Stretch them, drink them, smoke them if you got them, and we'll be right back. Hello, party people. I'm back. My lipstick's smeared, but you don't care, and neither do I. And the camera's too far away to notice or care. Wah, wah. Thank y'all so much for being here, by the way. I have been playing nothing but colors in my face video game every night for days, and my brain is on fire from that still, so it's really nice to force myself to sit and read something out loud from start to finish. That in and of itself is an accomplishment for me. And it happens to be this piece, which, if you don't know, if you're just joining us, it's from the Autistic Girls Network, Autism Girls and Keeping It All Inside. You can Google Autistic Girls Network, and it's right there. It's their website's the first result, and then Keeping It All Inside. It's this PDF. It's 39 pages. We're going to cover all of it, just not tonight. We're going to cover probably 3 or 4 more pages tonight, because I want to get into these checklists, because these are really they spark a lot of conversations. And if we don't get to them tonight, then I'll kick off next stream with these checkpoints of autistic traits in girls that go missed or overlooked, and it'll kick off all these anecdotes, and it'll be a good time. But reading the whole thing is really important, and I've been wanting to do this online in any capacity for a long, long time, so I'm glad that I'm able to do it on stream. I started to do it on TikTok, and oh my god, after 3 videos, I was like, bitch, are you going to make 58 videos about this? No. And that was 2 years ago. Well, a year and some change. Anyway, this is what unmedicated ADHD looks like. Welcome. Okay, this is page 7. What may differ for girls? We've said that we're talking about internal presentations of autism rather than a specific female presentation. I'm trying to do better about being in frame. All of the items we mentioned below could also apply to the presentation of some boys and non-binary young people too, in which case they probably haven't been recognized as autistic until their mental health has started to break down, or if you've reached a breaking point. For a lot of people, the 2020 pandemic was that moment for people, where the dust was able to settle for a little bit in any capacity, or like things shifted, or like the earth tilted on its axis or whatever, or things started changing in their life that they couldn't ignore anymore, and that so many late discovered autistic people that I know and have met during this found out and discovered this for themselves over the course of this ongoing pandemic. So sometimes it takes a life-shifting event in order for these realizations to happen. Let's see. Until their mental health started to break down, but it's impossible to deny the data that shows that it's largely those brought up as girls who have been missed. So why might this have happened? I don't know if we'll talk about it, but in the U.S., women and minorities were not required to be included in clinical research until 1993, when Congress passed the NIH Revitalization Act. Reason? Money. They didn't want to spend money on researching women or pregnant women. Like, specifically childbearing women were too expensive to research. So they just treated us as smaller men. So, yeah, we have a long way to go. Long way to go. TBH, I probably won't live to see it, but I'm hoping that subsequent generations will, so that people won't have to go chunks of their entire life unrecognized autistic when they're autistic, you know? Autistic traits in girls are frequently missed, overlooked, ignored, or their own behavior put down to just being a girl. An autistic girl having a meltdown is said to be emotional and hysterical, a word historically only demeaning to women. Watch that fucking stream of mine where we talk about gynecology and gaslighting and misogyny. We talk about all this shit. We talk about hysteria. It's all there on YouTube. I'm pointing at my address bar on the top of the screen. That way. That way. That way. Okay. Thank you, Pidge. Thank you. Chatbots exist, Tatum. Is she having fun struggling to point to a thing? It's fun. It was a bit. We had a moment's over. Okay, yeah, emotional and hysterical. A word, huh?
Not that I was going on.
Tagging onto the bit. I got you. A word historically only demeaning to women because that's how girls are stereotyped to be. An example of this may be an autistic girl who struggles with dirt because of the texture and the idea of it, yet may be praised because historically girls were expected to be clean and tidy and not messy. This is where societal expectations of women and girls can create barriers to recognizing, understanding, and supporting autistic girls. Like the top of this page said, it's not just girls. This isn't just for girls. Like, I'm not trying to exclude anyone by saying this. This is a publication from this perspective, but you don't have to meet this criteria to be autistic. Just because you meet this criteria doesn't mean that you are autistic. You don't have to be a girl to be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not leaving anybody out at all, because that's the last thing I want to fucking do here, right? Autistic girls may have passionate interests, which are viewed as more socially acceptable than the special interests of their male counterparts. For example, animals and reading are often passionate interests amongst girls alongside others. Dinosaurs. Tornadoes. Reading about both of those exhaustively. I just described my kindergarten through 4th grade. All day long, thinking about tornadoes. All day long. Dinosaurs. Now I'm getting back into reading as an adult, but there was a large chunk of my life where I couldn't because it's hard to concentrate. The common stereotypes of autistic people as liking trains or other more stereotypical male interests may not be true for many autistic girls. I know plenty of autistic girls who like trains, and I mean like trains. Like, they love trains. They know a lot about trains. Like, it's definitely not a gendered thing. They may spend long hours drawing or reading, but because these are deemed acceptable interests, they're not picked up on as special interests or an autistic trait. It's also important to realize that trying to fit in with non-autistic friends and studying how to behave and what to say in order to fit in can become a passionate interest on its own. Rewind the stream 15 minutes. Literally. I internalized this so much that my interest became observing other people. And I still do that. It's like burned into me now. I can't not do that. But yeah, part of it was out of fascination. Part of it was out of completely necessity. Survival. Autistic girls, much like other autistic people, may engage in different repetitive behaviors. This may not look like lining up objects or repeating words out loud, such as echolalia, although it could. I was like, I do both of those all the time. Although it could. I am a jukebox of random sounds. Pidge can attest. I'm a jukebox of random cat songs and repeated sounds in the environment and clips from Vine and TikTok. What was I doing before dinner? Oh yeah, that clip of We Are the World where where Michael Jackson is trying to teach, who is that white guy? Huey Lewis. He's trying to teach him the note, and Huey Lewis just completely bombs it, and Michael Jackson just like giving him the side eye. But like the clip leading up to it, Michael's like, if you just believe, like trying to get him to do it. And I've been doing that all evening. If you just believe, you believe, you believe. And then side note, Huey Lewis is like, if you just believe, and Michael's like, they just believe.
As someone who loves Huey Lewis and Michael Jackson's music, that shit just makes me laugh.
Yes, it's so good. Okay. It may instead look like rereading the same book or re-watching the same film over and over again because it provides a sense of comfort and predictability. What do you mean instead? This is my life. All of these things. Huh? It may involve redoing homework until it's perfect, as it is common for autistic girls to be perfectionists, or repeating a certain behavior which is comforting to them. That's painful. That perfectionism bullshit that was crammed and burned into me has definitely made its way to adulthood, and sometimes it stops me. I'm trying to get past everything needing to be perfect in order for me to post it. And sometimes that means me making mistakes or getting things wrong, and I'm working through, you know, the shame that was holding me back for so many years, because I think it was just perfectionism held me back because I didn't want to be wrong. Because being wrong meant that I was incorrect and meant I wasn't doing the right thing. It meant that people around me saw me differently. Like, it was such internalized, deep fucking shame. And it's just so gross. And I was entrenched in it for decades. And some of that carries over into what I do now. And I'm trying to fucking work past it. I really am. But sometimes I do need to take the time to double and triple check my work and make sure that it's correct. You know? Whiskey! You didn't get an alert? That's so rude. But thank you for being here and subscribing. 8 months. Oh my God. That is incredible. You are incredible. You are the world's Whiskey. Maybe just believe. Thank you for being here. I love you. Okay, getting back to it. Yeah, perfectionism. Big one on that. Yeah, erasing. Fucking working on my handwriting and fucking erasing it until it was perfect. I'd rewrite letters like fucking 5 and 6 times. I love your Whiskey. The VOD will be there for you. Spoons willing tomorrow. This week for sure. Autistic girls and boys or non-binary young people who present in an internal way may tend to internalize problems too. And this can cause damage to their mental health, which is already in peril from camouflaging their autism. It can lead to increased anxiety and situational mutism, which is being unable to speak in situations which cause high anxiety or feel unsafe. Because this is an internal behavior and is not a core feature of the diagnostic criteria of autism, despite being common in the cohort we're looking at, it can also cause these young people to be misdiagnosed if the assessor doesn't understand internal presentations, Sage Lockhart, right? Tatum, you can't be autistic. You're not speaking to me in a monotone voice right now. Tatum, you can't be autistic. You're socially engaged in this conversation with me right now. Tatum, you can't be autistic. You're a good communicator. All of these things have been told to me by the same medical healthcare professional, hinging an entire neurotype disability on 3 trivial fucking things that don't present universally in all autistic people. Crack open a book. If you graduated before like Facebook was invented, it's time to relearn some shit. Like, it's time to re-up your knowledge as a doctor, as a medical professional. Because human bodies at large don't really change. Of course, new viruses and new conditions and things, but like, it's not the bodies that are changing, it's our knowledge around it that's largely changing in some cases, right? Especially with like disabilities and neurotypes and COVID as well. Like, it exists, yeah, but our knowledge around it and our understanding of it is what changes. Oh my God. If I had the executive function that it would take to put myself through school with my brain juice and brain power, and if I could just channel it into making it to class on time and remembering to do my homework and fucking studying, and bitch, I would be a professional student. I would never stop going to college to learn shit. It's just expensive and inaccessible, and fuck that. And I have the internet and I learn what I want now. But like, what I'm getting at is Sage Lockhart and assholes alike that don't understand anything about anything, is that you need to stop. You need to not hang up your hat and stop learning once you reach a point in your career. Like, learning should be a lifelong process is what I'm getting at. Anyway, Lord, y'all, me and my tangents. Good on ya, crew, for sticking it out. Update your shit. Exactly. Anxiety can be a major part of an autistic girl's everyday life, especially when they are masking and trying their best to fit in. This may mean that they keep it together all day at school, so to teachers, there doesn't seem to be a problem. This emotion and anxiety may all be realized in meltdowns, shutdowns, or anxiety attacks when they get home. So many of my evenings growing up involved sitting in silence and just letting the afterwave of the day wash over me. And I just needed to recharge. Complete shutdown. Or complete, I'm at my fucking limit. You know what I mean? Like, such extremes. A lifetime of extremes.
You were either Kramer or you were George Costanza.
Yes. I was either Kramer or I was George Costanza, Pidge said. Never in the middle. This buildup of anxiety can cause anxiety-based school avoidance, often called school refusal, but that implies a choice. There is no choice when you are so anxious. As an adult, as I talk about all the fucking time, that translated and manifested in fucking breaking down and spiraling into tears at night because I had to go into work in the morning and getting physically ill and throwing up at the idea of going to work and waking up and not wanting to go to work and talking myself off of the ledge in the parking lot every day before walking into work. Then I would just stop showing up. And when I lived at home, I would be without anything for like a month. I would like fucking relax and not have to worry because like, back when I wasn't paying bills, I got a job just to have a job, just to have like money. Like it didn't, my survival at that time in my life didn't depend on it. Of course, now it fucking does. But like it, when I had that net of like, okay, I've hit my limit once again and I'm back at scratch. Like in college, I would have these 2 to 3 month periods of doing nothing, and then my brain would get bored and I would get sad because I was bored and mad because I was bored, and then get a job again. And then I would get a job that was like easy to get, easy to stand out in, because I would just do what I was told and then go above and beyond, just because I was a fucking people pleaser and like I needed to make people like me at any cost. And I would drive myself to the ground and do the work of 3 people and get fucking anxious about going to work. It would just, it's a cycle that repeated for years and years and years. It could also cause situational mutism. Persistent absence from school and situational mutism might be put down to behavior in a child not yet recognized as autistic, but it may be a sign that needs to be understood in the context of anxiety and autism. Friendships can be very important to autistic girls and also cause a great deal of anxiety, especially if there is conflict. If y'all were there for my stream about friendships, Lord, go watch it. It's on YouTube. Autistic girls may be extremely sociable or chatty or very shy and isolative. It's common for them to have 1 or 2 strong friendships, but struggle socializing in groups. This may not be obvious, though, as they may have learned to mask their difficulties well. Unfortunately, feeling left out and being bullied is a very common experience for autistic people at school, and even in the workplace in adulthood. A 2016 paper that found that although autistic girls identified less conflict in their friendships than non-autistic girls did, sorry, my lip is itching, interviews by the researchers found more aggression in those friendships. This indicates that the autistic girls may have found it difficult to identify the conflict. Oh my God. Well, I have the button. Why am I singing it when I can just...
Oh my God.
Bro. Girlfriend groups in school are a nightmare. They were a nightmare for me. They were a nightmare. Because like every 2 months, one of the girls in the group would do something that everyone else took as a slight and would get mad and not talk to them for a couple of weeks. And then we'd make up, and then it would happen to somebody else. But it happened to me more often than the rest of the girls. And it ended up just me being me, just severed from the group. Like that's usually how it would end, right? Go through a lifetime of that with absolutely no answers. And try not to hate yourself. Challenge. Impossible. I internalized so much of that shit. So much of the unknown I internalized as automatic failure on my part. Which sucks and is shitty and is not right. You know? Anywho. The 2016 study also found that autistic girls tended to have mostly non-autistic female friends, whereas autistic boys tended to have been shunned by their non-autistic peers. So autistic girls would flock to allistic, which is not autistic, ALLISTIC girls, and autistic boys tend to be shunned by allistic peers. That's basically what they're saying here. This suggests that as yet unrecognized autistic girls are partially sheltered by their friendship group. That sentence doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know if it's because I'm sleepy or what, but... And it could be a punctuation thing. Let's see. Let me get some context. Okay. This suggests that as yet unrecognized autistic girls are partially sheltered by their friendship group. Okay. As opposed to boys. Interviews with autistic women identified that a common theme was to not really feel as if they fitted into the friendship group, and for the friends to easily drift away or peter out in conflict. Always. Story of my life. To this day. To this day. I'm trying to be more social. I was like sitting here spiraling before I went live, like in my head about shit, about feeling disconnected from people sometimes, and I'm trying to do better about that by being more active and like social online, like in replies to people and like in group chats and stuff. I'm really trying. So I'm proud of myself for that. But holy fucking shit. Is it hard? It's very hard. Stop it. Stop spiraling all the time. Others felt that they had more difficulty keeping friendships than making them in the first place, but however lonely they felt. Sorry, the way some of these are worded are throwing me for a fucking loop. Other women felt that they had more difficulty keeping friendships than making them in the first place, but however lonely they sometimes felt, or however difficult the friendships became to navigate, all the respondents in the study wanted friendships above all. Like, is that not a fairly universal fucking feeling? Belonging? Wanting to belong? Wanting to be a part? Like, sure, I fucking hate people, but like, I also love people. I also want to be included. I want to be thought of. I want to be considered. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be supported. Like, don't we all to some degree? Hello? My mouth is leaving the chat. I don't know how much longer the stream's going to be. Let's see. Okay, we've got one more page and then some checkpoints. We need to lose the idea that there is a right way of playing or socializing or communicating. Autistic people are often accused of being unable to do these in the right way, but their way is just a different way. Damian Milton's double empathy theory suggests that we all need to consider both sides. I hear about the double empathy problem a lot, and it took me several months to even really fully grasp what it meant because I was overcomplicating it. But simply put, the theory of the double empathy problem suggests that when people with very different experiences of the world interact with one another, they will struggle to empathize with one another. This is likely to be exacerbated through differences in language use and comprehension. And we experience that in varying scales and degrees in an allistic society as autistic people, right? If I had $1 for every time I was looked at by people I was talking to, like I had 3 heads for just saying something. Or also, like if I had $1 for every time I was just saying something to contribute to the conversation, not trying to be funny, and people would laugh, like unexpectedly, and like I wasn't going for the joke, wasn't going for the punchline. And while I saw that as a form of acceptance, looking back at it, it wasn't really. I feel like it was another, it's like, ooh, it never made me feel like heard in the moment. Even if I was like, yay, I made them laugh. Like, that's not the point. I wasn't trying to make people laugh. I was just saying a thing. I was trying to be included. And if people laugh, then that's cool. You know, take it on the chin, whatever, if you're trying to be serious. But like, millions of times that's happened, and it's just yet another damn. They didn't get what I was. They didn't get what I was putting down. You know, it feels like a miss. It kind of feels like a swing and a miss. But again, trying to fit in means that a lot of these split-second decisions happen in milliseconds in your brain. Where, okay, they laughed. Am I going to go with it and pretend like I was trying to make them laugh? You know, and internalize it later. And deal with it 15 years down the line like I'm doing right now. All right. Autistic girls may feel an intense desire to fit in. This is why masking is so common. Although neurotypical social skills and behavior don't come automatically to them in the way it does to their non-autistic peers, they may be experts at observing those around them and copying what they should be doing so they don't stand out. Many have been doing this since a very young age. Hello. A 2016 paper found that autistic girls masked their unhappiness and anxiety in order to fit in with their peers and avoid disrupting friendship groups. At the same time, autistic girls may also feel a desire to express their individuality, for example, through piercings or brightly dyed hair. This may provide them with an emotional outlet. Girls and those who present internally may also use compensation to balance their strengths and weaknesses and to fit in with peers. Livingston and Happy, are you happy to see me? I don't know how to pronounce that. I apologize. I'll stop making jokes about your name now. Talk about girls using different cognitive routes to reach the same skill level. For example, in navigating a social situation or analyzing facial expressions to identify emotion. Social interaction and the use of inference can also be problematic, and autistic people can end up feeling like everyone else knows about a secret code and they don't. You can help at school and at home by really thinking about what you say and cutting down on the amount of inference needed to understand the conversation. Story of my fucking life. It's like everyone else gets the memo. Everyone else seems to understand the thing that I don't, and now I'm here and everyone else is over there. Like, what's going on? I didn't get my copy of the handbook. You got my mailing address? Like, what? Everyone else is playing a secret game that they all seem to know the rules to. It's like I'm living in a musical and everyone else had the sheet music and the choreo rehearsals and I didn't, and I'm expected to just, we're all in this. I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, my whole fucking life. And identifying that is so important. It was so important for me. Because if you don't know that you're autistic and you feel like this, you internalize a lot of that shit and you blame yourself for a lot of it. It's a me problem if I don't fit in to this unrelenting, unforgiving, deadly society that doesn't care about us. And that's not just autistic people. That's any of us. But that's another conversation. I'll take off my anti-capitalist hat now. Okay. A particularly difficult time for those who grow up as autistic girls is puberty. Fuck. AKA the worst years of my life. Hands down. Have any of y'all seen the movie 8th Grade by Bo Burnham, starring I think the actress's name is Ellie Fisher? Holy shit. That movie, now, I don't armchair diagnose people, but I also will say that many of the entertainers and content that I have gravitated to organically ultimately turned out to be made by neurodivergent people. And I think that Bo Burnham might fall under that category. Because he's able to tap into consciousness in a way that I can't hear, like neurotypical people. Like, it's very much the radar, you know, but like, I'm not trying to say that he's autistic or that he has like ADHD or anything like that. It's just that movie in particular perfectly encapsulated the awkwardness and the painful hits and swings and misses of micro interactions of the 8th grade experience. And I watched that movie like right around the time I found out I had ADHD, and I was like going through shit with my family, and it was all very like everything was raw, and I kept pausing the video to just sob uncontrollably. But I think enough time has passed that I need to rewatch it. But I don't know why I got on the tangent, but who cares? It's my living room. Puberty. That's right. Girls. Puberty. Yes. That whole 8th grade, literally the worst school year of my life. Watch my YouTube video on friendships. Woof. At a time when they're struggling to understand and deal with their emotions, hormones can and do exacerbate their emotional dysregulation. And how? The arrival of periods can also cause sensory issues which tend to be ignored due to periods still being taboo to talk about in many areas of society.
Not to mention, the discovery of your period at school.
Yeah. A lot of girls start the period at school.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then bringing it up, finding someone to bring it up to, and hoping to not be ridiculed or...
It's a nightmare.
So frustrating to think about.
It's an absolute fucking nightmare. And my God, I've been alive for 32 years and I only had 11 years without a period. And I miss it every day. And I mean that. Like, even now, I literally, my period ended like a few days ago. Bitch, I'm a leaf in a tornado. I am 2 sheets to the wind. In the week leading up to my period, getting things done, feeling good about myself, having creative ideas, shitting like a goose. I wish I had a fan that said yes. That's another story. All right. I just wanted to say shitting like a goose. I'm sorry. It's a fun phrase. I didn't make it up. It's just fun. All right. Rein it in, bitch. Periods. Ruining my life. Where are we? Great. It can be difficult for autistic people to manage periods due to sensory issues created by period products, physical pain, and nausea and hormones, exacerbating existing sensory difficulties. This is why I purchased... Let me just take a moment to introduce the heating pad that launched 1,000 ships.
Peachy of Troy.
Peachy of Troy. This little axolotl. You axolotl questions for one thing. So let me clear the air for you. This little so-and-so I got to use for my last period, and holy shit, it changed everything. This is a little sack of clay beads, and it comes out of the back of little Peachy here. You nuke this in the microwave for, we do 45 seconds because 60 is too hot, but I might do 50 from now on. Then you Velcro it back in, and I tuck him in my little waistband like he's my Joey, and I'm his... What? Is there a word for mom kangaroo? Mama-roo.
Mama-roo.
That's trademark. RuPaul's gonna sue me. Yes. Peachy. I debuted you on Twitter in a picture, and you got fucking famous, so say hi to the people. You provide me pain relief. And you keep a lot of people up at night. But also, I wanted to show you what Pidge got me today. He got me a little surprise from the store, and I literally cried when he showed me because it was one of those close your eyes, open your eyes things, and this beautiful thing was staring back at me, and he hasn't left my sight. He has not left my sight. Oh my God. I love them. I was very much one of those kids growing up that just slept with stuffed animals. And then I went through a throw all your stuffed animals away phase. Those are for kids, meh. And now I'm very much into honoring my inner child. So here we are. And I couldn't be happier. And they're buddies. Phoebes killed a man. By the way, love the username. Thank you so much for the follow. Just had to show you all my 2 stuffed friends. Okay, back to it. Oh, this is the paragraph that never ends. I keep stopping and starting. Existing sensory difficulties. It is important for this to be acknowledged and for autistic young people to be supported in managing at this time of month. Yes. Anybody with a period. Wow, I didn't mean to do that, but here we are. Thank you. PJ said it was clever. I don't believe him. He has to say that, though. We're practically married. Periods. It's 2024. Can we enough with the ick, right? Like, y'all watch people get blown to smithereens in movies all the time. It's just blood. Like, I want the stigma to stop. I'm exhausted by it. I'm exhausted by having it. But I want to learn more and talk more about in the future PMDD and how it manifests in me as an ADHD person, and fuck, that's a whole other stream. But let's just continue. It can also be expensive for parents who may need to buy many different products before finding any that can be tolerated. These sensory needs, which can have the same financial implications for those highly impacted when buying clothes and food, should be considered in benefits applications. Damn, yes! Dropping some heat on that last sentence. Absolutely, it should. So should toilet paper. So should toilet paper. Okay. Now this is the part that I'm the most excited for to go over on stream with y'all, are the dots. So let's see. What to look out for in an internal presentation of autism. Notice that they don't say in autistic girls, like, because this isn't gendered. There's no gendered autism. There's no such thing as male or female autism. It's just, it's autism, right? But if you externalized your traits growing up and it manifested especially physically or like verbally, you were more likely to be noticed, like those were more likely to be noticed by the people around you, and you were more likely to be seen and diagnosed for it, right? But internalizing it means that the chaos exists in the confines of your meat suit to render you helpless for fucking decades. Helpless to it. Like, I've truly felt helpless to everything because I had no answers. And bitch, nothing itches my craw like not having the answer. I've got to have the answer. I've got to know why. So solving this was the single-handed largest mystery of my life that I didn't even know needed to be solved. I just kind of thought that everybody struggled as much as I did and fucking hated themselves as much as I did, and that I was just really bad at dealing with it. Such is not the case. It wasn't until I learned about my autism that I was able to start forgiving myself for things that were never even my fault to begin with. As far as like autistic traits that I thought were just because there's like societally punished. So like I was just so much shame and so much guilt for existing. It's not necessary, right? Okay. Friendships. I could make a fucking 2-page dotted fucking list. Go watch this stream. It's on YouTube. Maybe on the edge of friendship groups or have intense friendships vulnerable to falling out. Always existed on the fringe. In a group of 5, if only 4 people could do something, I was automatically, it was like, okay, yeah, no. We'll make sure Shelly, Kelly, Belly, and Nelly are invited, but not me, you know? I've never known anybody named Belly. That was just an example. Maybe very uncomfortable with conflict. May prefer to play in their own way. Okay. This is where shit, it's triggering so many conversations. It's triggering so many examples. I am uncomfortable with conflict. I was terrified of conflict growing up. It still makes me uncomfortable, but in certain situations I see where it's necessary. Like bringing shit up that's shitty, that needs to be addressed to a shitty person that will cause conflict. Like, I understand that it's necessary sometimes. It doesn't mean I fucking like it. But like back then, back when I was like unrealized autistic and like growing up and not knowing anything and like fucking just struggling like everybody else, right? I hated conflict. I was terrified of it because conflict usually meant punishment for me. So I did all I could to keep the peace. However, that didn't mean that conflict didn't happen a lot. Because it very much did. Whether I was the one causing it or not. Just so many rifts and misunderstandings and miscommunications throughout my life that caused conflict in varying severities. And I hated all of it. I wanted none of it. I'm so sorry that I'm wobbling the desk so much, by the way. Hope you took a Dramamine before watching. Yeah, fucking hated it. And that often paralyzed me from even starting to reach out to people in the first place because of the inevitability and the speed at which conflict would often arise in some of these situations. It caused me to avoid a lot of shit, you know? School. May not raise a hand in class or be reluctant to speak when called on. May be unable to use strategies like timeout cards because of situational mutism. May misunderstand pop culture or trends. Big into the trends one. Pop culture was kind of like a special interest of mine for a while, like learning about celebrities, like facts about them, and like I'm a bitch that'll watch a movie and then I'm Googling the Wikipedia on it and I'm Googling the cast and I'm seeing if it's based on a true story and I'm reading about these people. Like, that's always been me. But trends, yeah, I have always struggled in some capacity to see the point with certain trends. May experience less difficulty and anxiety if seated with a friend and if the seating doesn't change. Seating or as an adult, parking. I came home from a stressful outing the other day and an internet truck was parked in my spot. Ooh. I hate that shit. Also in classes where the seating like wasn't assigned in college, like everyone would kind of sit and kind of shuffle around for a few weeks, but then would fall into, okay, yeah, this is where I usually sit, so this can be my seat. But like, I took it a little too literally, and I would feel like, oh, I can't pay attention because my seat's up there and I'm right here because someone's sitting in my seat. Like, it's not just like a finicky preference thing. Like, there are always reasons behind it, but sometimes those reasons are hard to articulate. So a lot of autistic people are dismissed as rigid or like, you really need your routine, or you're anal retentive, or, you know, you're bossy, you know, like exhausting. May also vastly prefer pair or group work with a friend. It's difficult and anxiety inducing to speak to someone they don't know well. Yeah, I hated group projects growing up. Hated them. If I didn't work with a friend, I didn't want to do a group project. I prefer to work alone because it's easier for me to delegate all the tasks to just myself because I don't have to translate it from brain thought to verbal mouth, you know? There's some wiring that gets crossed between the circuitry of my brain and the exit hole of my mouth. And I'm just worlds more articulate in writing than I am in actual speaking words out loud, as you can see in every single one of these streams, right? May mask at school and explode at home. Oh my God. Yeah. Explode, implode, shut down, break down, weep, hide up in my room, not come down until dinner, take my dinner upstairs, eat it in my room, repeat Monday through Friday for decades, right? Hi, Mephistopheles, welcome. I know, right? This is really affirming. It's like, wow, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not a foaming at the mouth bulldog of rage. I'm not a bundledy bag of mess. You know, there are reasons for why I am the way that I am. Maybe disinterested in sport. Not the case for me. I played softball for 8 years. And my knees are paying for it now. But yeah, I wasn't really interested in sport outside of mine. Like, I would go to the games to hang out with friends and pretend to care, but deep down, I didn't give a shit. Psh. In high school, I went to the student section to see and be seen and hopefully make friends or just have a good time. You know? May get by in primary school, but transition to secondary is an explosion in sensory and cognitive input and a step too far. I made it all the way to grad school before it was a step too far for me. But for a lot of like kids growing up and making it into high school, it could be a step too far, or like the transition from high school to college, or from college to the workforce. For me, it was like the what's the word? The transition. Thank you. From college to grad school, 8 hours away, moving away from home for the first time, just completely floating around and flailing around for a full calendar year, and then eventually dropping out. And I've been aimlessly floating largely ever since. Like, outside of the structured environment, in a structured environment, it was too much. Outside of a structured environment, I can kind of step back and not force myself into the confines of a structure, but structures helped me run the race for longer. I'm just now realizing that the structure didn't help me succeed. It just meant that, oh, I have a backbone and a skeletal guideline in which I can run this rat race. Didn't mean I was thriving. Didn't mean I was doing well in my life. You know, not crying when I got home from work was a victory. Okay. If you have, okay, no, take two. May have an ability to, may have an ability to spot patterns. And or consider a subject without bias if you can get them talking in the first place. What? Oh, I guess this means like for kids growing up in school. I was like, that sounds like a little bit of a jab. Not necessarily. Yeah, if you can get them to start talking in the first place. No, they mean like, I don't know. That sentence didn't feel necessary. Have an ability to spot patterns. Cassandra's. We ride at dawn. Which cat do you see? Oh. That's Picky. Him take a bath. And that's Flurb. She is asleep. Where's Mister? He's under the table, Pidge said. I can't see. There's hair in my mouth. We're already at the 2-hour mark? What the fuck? Okay. No, I hate this. Why is it doing this? Yeah, spot patterns. We talk about it all the time. It's exhausting. Have you seen the movie Premium Rush with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, where he's like this courier or something, this bike courier in New York City, and like it's like a high action, like it's a high stakes action film where he has to do stuff in a fucking time limit or whatever. But like in the beginning of the movie, it shows he's like on his route, and it like slows down time and shows his brain, if I go that route, this will happen, and then I'll hit that car, and then that door will hit me. If I go that route, it'll go this way and then that way. And optimizing in real time. Story of my fucking life. When I'm mid something, like if I'm mid chores and I have 5 things on the list, my brain is always optimizing. Okay, what's closest? What can I do along the way? My brain does it automatically. I do not get a say in the matter, and it's fucking exhausting. It's the same with spotting patterns. And that manifests in, for me, I can realize and recognize that Mister is wide fucking open and on demon time when he's running around and his eyes are fucking big, right? And his tail's all poofy, and he's like, and I know he's going to knock shit over and get into things he shouldn't be getting into, because there's a pattern of that behavior. So in real time, I can sense when he's starting to enter that space. Then I could put away the breakables. Then I can clear a path to make sure everything's Mr. Proof so he doesn't accidentally fucking yeet himself into the great beyond. Like, spotting patterns is so much more than blue, green, orange, blue, green, orange. It's knowing past behaviors of things and guessing how it'll happen in the future and preventing something from falling off a table, for instance, or hanging something that, like, I don't know how to put it into words because I haven't thought about it enough right now in this moment to be able to put it into words, but I could do a whole stream about spotting patterns. Jesus Christ. This might be the last sheet, actually, because I get off on tangents on all of these. May avoid or be uncomfortable with unstructured time at school and need support for these times more than lessons. That's interesting, because within the confines, or within the, I'll just say structure, because it's not always confining, but within a structured environment, it is easier to, okay, I have plain directions, I have plain instructions. This is what I'm supposed to do. If it's too plain and I have questions, I'm going to ask questions. I need to know why I'm doing something. If I don't know why, then I'm going to ask why. And a lot of adults growing up took that as back talk, back sass. Being smart, being sassy, being a smart ass, right? When really I'm just like, we usually do it this way, but this time we're doing it this way. And this first way is easier. So I'm just wondering, why aren't we doing it the way we always do it? Don't backtalk me. Okay, cool. Guess I'll just fucking guess at what you want and hope that I'm right. Like, man. Adults suck. And I can say that because I am one on paper. Let's see. May find aspects of school uniform or other clothes difficult or impossible. Reasonable adjustment needed. We talked earlier about wearing clothes that are picked out for me growing up that I didn't like, and wool sweaters making me want to throw up, and like, of course. I've never had to wear a school uniform in any of my time as a student, but I've had to wear work uniforms that are really fucking uncomfortable. Like those artisan carpenter denim cloth aprons that go down to your knees and have the brown burlap on them, and they look like you're going on a painting retreat in the woods. And they're stiffer than a damn piece of cardboard. And you're just serving burgers at a hotel. Endlessly, pointlessly uncomfortable work uniforms. Ew. Gross. I'm showing up and doing the job. Let that be enough. You know? That's how I feel about uniforms. Throw a name tag on me and call it a day. Call it a day. I don't like uniforms. They kill creativity. May find transitions between classrooms very difficult. Yeah. I also found topic transitions difficult. If I'm hung up on something from the previous class and we're half an hour into this lecture, I'm not paying attention because my brain's trying to solve something from earlier in the day. Like, God, school was such a nightmare. Yeah, man, no. Work uniforms that you have to pay for out of your paycheck, that's hilarious.
Before you even start.
Yeah, before you even start. Before you even start the job, you have to cough up fucking $80. Excuse? That's like 2 shifts of work. People getting paid dog food out here. Me at so many of my jobs that I fucking ended up quitting. Oh my God, no. 12 years of school uniforms with ties. Fuck that. Fuckthatnoise.com. My sincere condolences. Holy shit. Woof. May be unable to eat in the dinner hall due to the sensory aspect of smell and so many people. Damn. Yeah, dude. So I wish I could fucking time travel into like my 14-year-old self with the knowledge that I have now, so that I'm able to just go through a day in my life back then of that hellish time of my life and recognize all of my autistic traits. even the ones that like are suppressed, and I'm trying my best to just like ignore and not think about. Now, this was not so much a sensory thing as it was a social thing for me. But again, this is a fucking third or fourth time I've referenced it. Go watch it. My friendship stream on YouTube. I had to move out of state to a different high school, like for ninth through 12th grade, because I was getting death threats at my old school, and I got the fucking state police involved. It's a whole thing. I had to move, right? And my dad worked 40 minutes away, and my mom worked 30 minutes away that way. And she had to be at work at like 6 a.m. Dad had to be at work at 7:30 a.m. So I would get dropped off at high school at like 6:45 in the morning. Sometimes I would get there and the school would still be locked. I would beat the janitor there. And I would have to sit in the car with Dad until they came in and locked the door. And this was at a school out of state. I didn't know anyone except for the 2 or 3 girls that were at the softball camp that I went to that summer. And most of them turned out to completely suck. But for the first like semester and a half of that period of time, I would get dropped off at 6:45 in the morning, and instead of chilling in the cafeteria and talking to no one because I knew no one, I would stay in the bathroom in a stall and just listen to my iPod until the bell rang at like 8 o'clock. I did that every single day for fucking months at this new school. And then it turned into, okay, well, I found a friend group I can at least sit with. And then one girl would get there at like 7:10, and we were friendly, but we weren't like friends. And we were both fucking sleepy, so we would just sit there and not talk, and it was just so awkward. It was
so dumb.
So pointless, so awkward. Of course, now I prefer sitting in silence. I prefer skip the niceties. It's not rude if you don't talk to me. It's fine. I don't want to talk either. Let's just sit here. You know, that's very much me now. But 14, 15-year-old me, bitch, I was panicking. I was like, well, if they don't talk to me, then that means that they could form conclusions about me that are wrong, and I want people to like me, so what do I do? Just more internalizing this shit, right? Jesus Christ. But don't get me started on sensory stuff. I hold my breath to do the litter box, to clean the litter boxes, to take out the trash, because my sense of smell is off the charts in the worst possible way. So, if you have sensory issues in that regard, my my heart and 11 out of 10 smeller is with you. Yes. Just reading a comment here. Mephistopheles. I think as we grow up, we focus less on what we are supposed to do to uphold that sense of what's normal. Yes. Absolutely yes. And for me, I'm too tired to care. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't. I am cringe and I am free. And I have embraced it. Because I've suppressed it and been ashamed of it for my whole fucking life. And I've been uncomfortable as a result. So if I'm just going to let it rip, I'm enjoying myself. If you're doing something else, that's fantastic. I'm doing my thing over here. And if you don't like it, you don't have to, because I don't care. You know, that's very forever. Very that forever. Okay. Many find assemblies difficult due to proximity of so many people. Stress me the fuck out, dude! There's nothing I hate more than being on my feet in a group of people heading one way and we're not moving. And we all have backpacks on. And it's August. And everybody smells like onions. And I'm wearing slip-on Birkenstocks. I was like, is it Birkenstocks or Birkenstocks? Birkenstocks with no socks. Also, side note, every Friday night after a home football game, my middle school would throw a sock hop in the high school gym.
What?
And you had to take off your shoes to get in. So it's just a bunch of middle schoolers and high schoolers co-mingling, smelling like feet, chasing each other, white boy twerking, and slow dancing with stiff arms for 2 hours every Friday. "2004 was fucking weird." Okay. Let's see. Yeah, fuck assemblies. It's smelly, it's loud, it's distracting, I can't pay attention, I can't hear. Nathaniel and Hunter are sitting behind me, flicking each other in the nuts. I can't. End me. End me now. Smite me in this middle school auditorium, please.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. Okay. Will be startled and scared by teachers shouting at them or out at the class. I mean, yeah. I've got a high startle reflex. And this is me standing up for my younger self. I'm not a pussy. I'm not a scaredy cat. I'm not oversensitive. I'm not overreacting. My knobs are turned up to 11 and I can't prune extraneous knowledge and information, so I'm getting all of it at all times, and that's why my brain always feels like it's overheating. So when a loud noise happens, yeah, I'm going to involuntarily go or any variation of the sort. And of course, kids will laugh at you for that. Adults will laugh at you for that. People are fucking the worst. I hate people. Many find lessons like PE or perhaps food tech and design and technology difficult due to lack of structure or predictability and sensory reasons. Yes. A lot of sensory reasons for me. Like, I wanted to take wood shop, but I was in one class one time. It was a weird class. We did computer stuff, and then we made a pen out of wood, an ink pen out of wood. But that particular project was so loud and so smelly, the burnt wood, it was too much. And I couldn't stand being in a class of nothing but that. I avoided a lot of shit because of sensory stuff. And executive dysfunction. I wanted to be like a homicide investigator. But you kind of gotta be around bad smells in order to do that, and also pass chemistry and shit, spaghetti that just never stuck to my brain wall, a lot of my own disability disabling me. Imagine that. Will need specific and adapted sex education. Yes, and I would push that to say just education in general, but in the form of sex education, that's a whole other stream. Autism and sex and intimacy and the sensory things with that. I know that's going to be super adult and stuff, but I'm in my 30s. I've got to stop handling everything with kid gloves. I want to talk about this stuff. I've got to put down my own concern with the taboo or the stigma. I fuck. Who cares? Literally. It's not sex education in Tennessee in the aughts. Very much the gym teacher from Mean Girls. Complete with misspelling sexually transmitted infections, right? It was just a horror show. It's sort of like Baptist church, how they fear hellfire and brimstone. You better behave or else. That's very much sex education in Appalachia in the aughts. Don't even think about it. Don't look at it. Don't talk about it. Don't sniff it. Don't touch it. Just don't. And yeah, that's gonna work,
Eventually it'll go away.
Yeah. Plus, talking about specific and adapted sex education, yes, it's needing to know why things, needing to know reasons for things. But that's every kid. Sure, of course, autistic kids are going to have different questions, and autistic people have different questions, but that's across the board for everybody, but I definitely stand on that one too. Oh, yes, I really wish that we could also discuss asexual and demi folks in sex ed too. Like, that's cool and normal too. I totally agree. I totally agree. One of my mutuals messaged me the other day, and we were talking about, just in the line of that and like sex education, thinking about like gender education as well. A mutual sent me some info about intersex people and like education about what it means to be intersex and what that involves and what that entails, and I'm excited to read up on that. But like asexual and demi, and polyamory, I'm so limited in my own knowledge. I'm still learning as an adult, way too late about this shit. Absolutely, that needs to be in schools. That needs to be like part of the curriculum. But as we know, that's not what public education is for. It's for chiseling inquiring minds into young workers and good little cogs of the machine, right? All those like Hallmark textbook images that are fucking true. Public school is to kill creativity and prepare you for the workforce. Vary that on this channel. Not for it, just recognizing that that's what it is. Standardized learning, cookie cutter learning is a sham and a farce, and it's a great disservice to neurodivergent kids. Great disservice to all kids. Or anybody in education. So many of these topics are streams in and of themselves. Holy shit. I think as far as the list goes, we'll call it there, but I know we're on page 11 and I have it here on the computer. I've got it saved. And I think that instead of, oh, we'll do part 2 some other time. No, I want to get through this whole publication from start to finish, even if I have to do it for the next like 3 or 4 streams, because I want to get it out there. I want the information to be out there. Because it's one thing for me personally, just speaking for myself here. It's one thing for me to have the information. It's like, okay, yeah, I can read that anytime I want. Or can I? Like, I need it in audio form so I can hear it. And it's awesome if I have it in audio form so I could also visually follow along with it. So if it takes me 4 streams to finish this publication, it takes me 4 streams. But we're going to stop there for tonight on this one. And the next time I stream, I'll pick up where I left off. But it just gets even more into... It's like pages and pages of points and more important things. And just... This publication kickstarted so much for me. And if you go to my hub under Resources for Autistic Adults, I need to update it because it's been a minute since I've updated those links. But there's some good starting points for you on there. Some self-assessments from Embrace Autism. It's essentially like exactly what they give you on an official assessment, but it's just for you to take for yourself. Like, the results aren't meant to be, considered diagnostic. Like, you can't put it on your chart if you self-assess. But it's good to have that knowledge for yourself. If you resonate with this material and it's like, don't take my fucking word for it. I'm not trying to convert people. That's not what this is. I'm trying to give you information that I didn't have access to for decades of my life, that I would have loved to have access to much, much earlier, that helps solve lifelong mysteries for me. And I can't express enough how happy I am to be covering this again. Because talking about my journey with discovering my autism late in life, at the old age of 28, no, later in life. That's sort of how I started this whole, how I'm here now. Like, that was the event that started it all, was that shit ass appointment and me talking about my experience. So it feels really good to get back into all this stuff. It was pertinent because there's just, it happens in waves where disabled people will get a bunch of shit for being disabled by a bunch of abled people online. Did someone happen? Did something happen?
Picky fell. He's okay. Like, you know,
Picky fell off the side of the chair.
yeah.
He's okay. Picky down, but Picky good.
He's back.
He's back. He's back for more. That's a bunny.
Back and scratching time.
I don't remember what I was saying, but anyway, I'm probably just talking in circles at this point. But I'm glad to be doing this. I'm glad to be covering this. It's good to revisit it after all these years with even more insight about myself and shit. I'm still clicking shit together, reading through this with y'all right now in this moment. So this is very much mutually beneficial. If you're getting something out of this, you're not the only one. I very much am. It's great to revisit some of this stuff and make sense of things that still haven't fully clicked for me. But your lived experience is valid. Self-diagnosing as autistic in a world that doesn't want you to be autistic, in a world that would prefer you to jump through the hoops of hell in order to pass the test. Bitch, that's not how reality works. Being on a spectrum means that spectrum is infinitely more nuanced than any checklist can possibly begin to cover, right? You can't put the entirety of your humanity into words on a page. But having access to words that you didn't previously have access to can literally change your life. It can change the course of your life. It can change how you perceive yourself. It can change how you move through the world. It can allow you to be yourself for perhaps the first time in your life if you were like me and forced to not be all this time. Just endlessly valuable information that I'm more than happy to share with y'all. So this is from the Autistic Girls Network. Follow them on Twitter as well. And on next stream, we'll pick right up where we left off on part 2. Okay. But I'm out of here. I'm outie 5000. These are fucking tight on my head. Hope y'all like my butterfly clips. But yeah, this has been great. I love spending time with y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Always. I appreciate every single one of you. Whether you're in the chat or not. I myself am very much a lurker on Twitch. I don't like to be in the chat. It overwhelms me. It's too many spoons sometimes, so I get it. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate you, because I appreciate you just as much. Lurkers are the backbone of the stream. And be sure to follow me on YouTube, where this VOD will live in the next few days. Oh, my scalp hurts. I want to trim my hair when I wash it again. Okay, y'all. I'm out of here. I love you. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a beautiful time zone wherever thou may art. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Art, shakack, boom. Oh, shakack, art. Did somebody mention art?